Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to react to a video. There's a bunch of these kinds of videos out on YouTube at the moment and have been for quite some time. But I have never done one, and yet I love watching YouTube, and there's a bunch of amazing content out there, particularly in relation to amazing examples of incredible communication. And the video I'm going to react to today is this video called What If It Sucks, featuring Jocko Willink. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware of who Jocko is. He is an ex-Navy SEAL. He currently has a couple of podcasts, one that's sort of aimed towards adults and one that's aimed towards kids. I think his adult one is called JockoPodcast, and his kids one is called Ask Uncle Jake or something like that. He's written a bunch of books. I'll just hang on. I am a big fan of his books. There's this one here. I think this was the original one he wrote with another Navy SEAL called Leif Babin, Extreme Ownership. There's this one, as I said, The Dichotomy of Leadership. And there's this one here, The Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual, which is sort of a shorter version with many of the same sort of messages in it. Anyway, he is obviously quite a prolific content creator in terms of the written word. He is not only an absolute beast in terms of like his physical size and strength, but he is clearly an incredibly intelligent person and an amazing communicator. And the reason why I want to react and sort of break down this video of him today is because I believe it is an incredible example of how to respond to a situation where you get sort of openly challenged in front of a large group of people. The situation starts with him having obviously just spoken to quite a large group of American troops. He's speaking to the Pennsylvania National Guard, and he is asked this question, which is quite a challenging question by one of the people who is standing there listening. And he has to respond. And I have to tell you that the 3 minutes of him responding to this question are practically a masterclass of how to respond to a challenge in front of a large group of people. Because it could have gone either way. It could have gone down a road where he either kind of got really quite wounded by the challenge, he could have gotten aggressive in response, but in fact what he did was an amazing way of not only avoiding belittling this guy who'd made the challenge, but also bringing on board everyone else who was watching it and building that level of rapport and respect that he had with his audience. Anyway, I think I've done enough preamble. I might as well just hit play and we'll get into watching it. We'll pause throughout just to sort of, so I can share my thoughts about what he's up to.
Well, when you tell me you get a scenario that's not all that great, what does that even mean?
Okay, so I've stopped it already. I guess I want to just make the point here that this guy's asked him a question, and he's obviously said something about, well, you know, along the lines of, well, what would happen, or how do you apply this, or what's the deal when we get a scenario that's just not all that great? And what's really interesting about Jocko's initial response is that he responds with curiosity. Well, when you get a scenario that's not all that great, what do you even mean, is what he says. Now it's interesting he throws in that even. What do you even mean? And the tone as well. He's obviously standing his ground within that question, but he's also being curious. And I think that when you are dealing with a bunch of army men like this, you can't afford to be submissive. You have to stand your ground. And yet it is amazing how he stands his ground with his tone and that use of the word even, and yet at the same time expresses his curiosity and is seeking to find out, you know, what is behind this question. So let's find out.
Food's not great. Non-ideal sleeping conditions. Maybe the shower trailers broke down. And all that starts adding up. I'm just spitballing.
All right, so this guy's responded, and he's talking about how, well, you know, what about a situation where the food's not great, where you've got non-ideal sleeping conditions, and a bunch of other things kind of in that same level of intensity, that same level of like discomfort. Now you have to keep in mind that Jocko is a guy who has seen at least two tours of active combat in Iraq. And in particular, he was in a battle called the Battle of Ramadi in a city called Ramadi in Iraq, which saw some of the most fierce fighting of the Second Iraq War. Literally street-to-street combat, and in incredibly harsh conditions, incredibly hot conditions. He might have been out carrying sort of 20, 30 kilos of gear in his full fatigues, and it might have been between 40 and 50 degrees Celsius outside. And working in a situation where he was continually confronted with, improvised explosive devices, and where his own team members were getting, wounded and killed around him, and he was the leader, and it was his responsibility to sort of look after those team members. So I mention all that because I can only imagine what is going through his mind when he hears someone complaining about non-ideal sleeping conditions or food's not that great. He must be thinking, come on, seriously, like, you have no idea what a non-ideal sleeping condition is. Try sleeping out, when you have like this ton of gear on your back and you're actually getting shot at, and you've already sustained, casualties in your platoon. So I can only imagine that's what Jocko is thinking. And I want to point out one really particular moment here. I'm just going to rewind it. Now just watch Jocko's face here. And he just gives the slightest hint of what's going on in his head. Watch closely.
Not great. What does that even mean?
Food's not great.
Oof. Did you see that? Did you see that? He was just barely in picture. He just sort of went like that. Like it was like, just a little slight against him. The food's not great. And that's all you see. That is all you see in terms of like a nonverbal cue, a piece of body language, that tiny little split-second window into the mind of this man. And then it's gone. And it is just replaced with this unbelievable professionalism, right? He's just like, damn, okay, switch, curiosity mode. And he listens.
Non-ideal sleeping conditions. Maybe the shower trailers broke down. And all that starts adding up. I'm just spitballing.
Okay, so the guys he's talking, he's garnered a few laughs from the crew. Okay, so he's winning some support from his colleagues, and now Jocko has to respond. Now notice that the first thing he does is he aligns himself with the mood of the group. He laughs as well, and he just looks away and he gathers himself.
Yeah, I'm like this close to giving like a heartfelt answer about that, about how, well, you got to do this, that, and the other thing. But it's about this far in my mind. It's like a switch that I can reach back to at any point and say that the worst possible day that you have on this base isn't 15 minutes of the pain that the guys felt at the chosen reservoir.
All right. This is amazing. So he wants to tell the guy, get your priorities straight, man. I mean, seriously, you're complaining about non-ideal sleeping conditions and food that's not that great. And he probably in his head wants to say, well, come spend a day with me in Ramadi, and you can see what non-ideal sleeping conditions really are like. But he doesn't bring up himself. He doesn't leverage or juxtapose his own story against this guy. he sort of talks about how he could empathize with him. He could sympathize with his position. He could just, he's that close. He could reach back to this part of him that would be happy and able to sympathize with him. But he's not going to. He's not going to do that. And instead, he's going to be honest with him. And so this is the amazing thing he's done here. He's juxtaposed, this option of just validating this guy's concerns, but he's juxtaposed it against being honest. And he's like, well, I can give you the sympathy. I could give you the sympathy. But do you want my sympathy, or do you want me to be honest with you? And of course, no one's going to want to, now that he said that, no one's going to want, fake sympathy. He wants the honesty. He wants the real thing. And so, and this is what the rest of the guys are going to be thinking as well. Like, no, don't give us your fake sympathy. We want your honesty, your honest opinion. And so he has just paved a path for himself in the space of 10 seconds there, where he now can just deliver his honesty, his truth. And then he does that not by, as I said before, referring back to his own story, but by using the story of others. And he's mentioned here, he's obviously searching his head for an example, and he is not flustered. Like, he is pausing. He's got a little block in terms of what, choosing an example, and he does not get flustered in the least. He waits for it to come from him, and he mentions the troops from the chosen reservoir. Now, he goes on.
At Normandy, at Gettysburg.
All right, this is another amazing move. So he's mentioned the chosen reservoir. He's mentioned Normandy. He's mentioned the Gettysburg, the Battle of Gettysburg. These are three enormous battles that American troops were involved in, and so directly relevant to the American troops who are in this group. And what he's doing here is he is establishing himself as a man of knowledge. He is no longer in their minds just, this beast of a guy, this former Navy SEAL, this physical prime specimen. He's also an intellectual prime specimen. He is a historian, a scholar, and he is building respect rapidly in this way. Now, there are guys in this group who are going to know all about the chosen reservoir. They're going to know about Normandy. They're going to know about Gettysburg, and they're going to be thinking to themselves, "Damn, this guy knows about those things. Wow!" And there are guys who are not going to know about this stuff as well, and they're going to be thinking to themselves, "Whew, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. He's mentioning stuff here that I don't even know about." So either way, he's establishing himself in terms of this ancient rhetorical technique that Aristotle first brought up, called ethos, where he is establishing his qualifications, his reputation, his capabilities just through mentioning and referencing these battles. He's establishing in their minds that he's a man who should be listened to. Let's keep going.
So we go through stuff. You know what? Whenever I face anything that's challenging, whenever anything sucks, I like it.
Boom. Okay. So he's gone from the guy to a generalization of the experience of other people, and now finally he's arrived at himself, and he said, whenever anything sucks, I like it. I have to say, Jocko is the master of economy of language. He just doesn't use that many words, and yet the words he uses are incredibly powerful. And he is also simultaneously, and kind of bound up with that, the master of the pause. I mean, he has just nailed that pause for effect. Just take a look at his body language there. He's like, he's like looking at the guy in the eyes. He's like, I just landed a blow, man. I just landed a blow. He is just personification of confidence. He's not finished yet.
I like it. It's gonna make me tougher. It's gonna give me a good story to tell. It's gonna toughen my mind. It's gonna bring us together as a. You know what military?
All right. So now he's listed up a bunch of reasons why he likes it. So he's established his ethos. He's now going to logos. All right. He is listing reasons, logical reasons why it is why when things suck, that's actually good. And the reasons he's using, they're not obviously, they're obviously very authentic to him, but they also are extremely likely to align with the values of his audience here. You know, they're going to make me tougher. They're going to give me a great story to tell. And they're going to bring me closer together with my mates, with my platoon, with my group, with the people I'm in battle with.
Military training is. You know what military training is? You know how they form a bond in military groups? They make you do stuff that sucks. That's what they do.
Did you see that? So he's asking questions. It's a rhetorical question for sure. And then he answers his question. He looks around. He looks for validation from his audience, and they give it to him. I don't know if you can see my arrow here, but this guy here with the blue mask, he's like, yeah, oh yeah, whatever you say, Jocko.
What's boot camp? It's a suck fest, right? And guess what? Oh, they want to make you a little bit tighter? You go to Airborne school. Airborne school sucks. They want to make it a little bit tighter. What are they going to do? You spend a special forces school. It sucks.
Look how he's using his body language here. He's like, point number 1, that sucks. Escalate. Point number 2, that sucks even more. Point number 3, that sucks even more. And with each step, you're bringing your team closer together. He's making this point. He's making it beautifully.
And then what happens? Who's the tightest? What's the tightest group of military people? What makes a group of military people the tightest? Combat, which sucks the worst of all.
Yeah. All right. So listen there. He's like, okay, he's reached the climax and he's asked the question. He gives the answer, and there's resolution in his tone. Combat, which sucks the most of all.
And the worse your combat is, the tighter you get. The guys that we were in Ramadi with, we were with very close. The 1st of the 506, we were with them the whole time. We were with the 1st of the 506 the whole time.
I love this part of the speech. He's talking about men bonding and being close and how that happens through adversity. I mean, this is a tough topic to talk about when you're speaking to a bunch of guys who are in army fatigues carrying assault rifles. I'm sorry, I don't know what those weapons are. I'm assuming they're some kind of assault rifle. And, you know, relationships are not kind of top of the menu for what's on the discussion, you know, what's in the conversation over dinner at the mess hall. I mean, I have so much admiration for a guy who can stand out in front of a crowd like this and talk about relationships between men. And I just think it's an incredible moment of role modeling to show, you know, how important that is, and to voice it in a way that is so inspirational and acceptable for this particular crowd.
I had a detachment that was directly working for the battalion commander of the 1st of 506. Colonel Ron Clark, general now.
Okay, he's getting into specifics, and this is what makes Jocko such an amazing storyteller. He uses names, he uses specifics, times, dates, places. He puts you into the story.
The bond that we have with those guys is so tight that when he was just in charge of the 25th ID out in Hawaii, he flew me out there to talk to him about leadership.
All right, he's done something pretty clever there. So he's now added further to his ethos. He's added further to his sense of capability and qualification. Now he's just sort of thrown it into the story, and it's a relevant thing. But he has just mentioned that a general flew him out to Hawaii to talk about leadership. One of the generals of the American military just flew him out to Hawaii. Now he's gonna watch what he does next.
Some retired Navy guy, me.
Okay, so he plays himself down. He's brilliant. It's like punch counter punch, balance counter balance. He's like, okay, so I'm kind of a big deal, but I'm no big deal at all, and yet the message is clear. I am a big deal. But he does it in such a way that he's still likable and relatable.
But that's the kind of bond we have. Why? Because we were in combat together and it sucked. And we overcame that situation.
Bringing it the full 360. Back to the point. Back to the point.
And we were able to achieve victory there. So,
he has won the crowd. He has won the crowd. Whether he lost it, I'm not even sure, but they are fully with him now. And now he can return to the starting point. So watch what he does next.
Something sucks, good. Good. It's going to make me tougher, and it's going to make us stronger. So bring it. Cold showers only.
So he comes back to the original question asker and addresses him directly. And then he finishes up with this comment, cold showers only. And they love it.
Well, when you
they love it. I really do have a lot of respect for this guy. I'm not that au fait with his political opinions. I'm not that interested in what he thinks politically. I'm not a military person myself. I think the idea of war is abhorrent. The idea of killing people is abhorrent. And yet this is a person who has been in that most extreme of environments and called upon to do those things and to lead a team in that way. All the while, facing the threat of being, horribly injured or killed at any moment. And I'm just guessing that environment is going to do something to you. And at the very least, it's going to weed you out if you're not up to it. And so, regardless of my opinions on war, on the military, and on politics, I think I just have a lot to learn from Jocko. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I see this little speech, which was 3 minutes and 17 seconds, as a classic example of how to respond to that horrible situation of when you're challenged in front of a group of people. Anyway, look, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I thoroughly enjoy watching that, watching any kind of video from Jocko, and in particular, this example really inspired me. So I'd love to hear what you thought of this kind of video, and if you'd like more of this sort of stuff, and if you'd like to see more of Jocko, if you've got anyone else who you'd like me to sort of break down in their communication style. I'll finish up there, and I'll see you in the next video.